isn't it?
Yes, it
It
is.
is a lovely day because I have a phenomenal woman on what's happening in your neck of the woods. It's always exciting when we get y'all to come on the show. Today, y'all, we have Miss Gidget Brady. She is going to be on the show to talk about excessive use of force on our children, while they're under the protection of the Hamilton County School Department. And also while they have SROs on the scene that's seem like lately have been causing a whole lot of stir up, and we
Yes, ma'am.
we want to talk about that because most of us have children in school. If not, we've had kids in school. And we want to know that when we drop our kids off and we go on about our daily business to work or wherever we have to go, that our kids are safe. We don't want to get that phone call that our kids have been arrested or even abused and put in detention center and put multiple charges on. That's just not what we expect when we expect our kids to go to school. We're expecting our kids to learn in a safe environment, in an environment where it's wholesome and that where they can feel protected when they're there. And that's just not what's been happening lately. And it's got a whole lot of people in this city, including our clergymen, in the uproar. And we are going to do something about it. We are not going to sit here idle while our kids, and it's mostly African American kids.
Yes, it is.
And so when that happens, it really, by me being an African American woman and having an African American son and two daughters, it really, really raises my eyebrow. And I'm very concerned and I'm disturbed. I'm very disturbed about it. And that's why I've invited Miss Gidget Brady to come on because this happened to her child who was in the sixth grade 5 years ago. And so I want you, first of all, we don't have to give your son's name,
Okay.
but I want you to describe, first of all, what happened and what was the result of what happened and how did you feel when you got that call and what do you think we can do because I think we need to form a mother of concern concerned citizen or something that of that nature for our kids.
Yes, I think that would be an excellent idea.
So talk to me about what happened with your son when he was abused, I would say excessive use of force by the SRO in school in the sixth grade. Talk to us about that.
So, first of all, I would like to point out that we cannot deny that a lot of our kids are suffering from several different types of mental illnesses. And then we have COVID, which caused more mental illness. So, when our kids are approached by police officers, they are thinking about what they've seen, what they've heard,
Mm-hmm.
what their friends have experienced, what family members have experienced. And there's an automatic fear within them that comes out when they are approached by a police officer.
Yes.
And it becomes fight or flight. And most of the time, you can say, you can teach your kid to do this and to do that. But when they are approached, you never know how you're going to respond when the situation comes. So, my son was in the sixth grade, and my son has an IEP. It's a gifted IEP, but he have some other issues going on. So every year I make it a point to meet with teachers and other staff that's going to be involved with him
What
to
school
know.
was this? I'm
This
sorry.
was at East Hamilton High School.
East
But it
Hamilton.
actually was at East Hamilton Middle School.
Okay.
So I make it a point to meet with teachers and administrators to know about his IEP, what his triggers are, and things like that. So just that day, I had met with the sixth grade team to talk about his triggers and just to make the teachers aware. Well, at the end of the day, he did not get off the school bus. So I
Mm.
contacted East Ham and I was like, I'm just concerned. My son didn't get off the school bus. I haven't heard anything, and no one knew anything at the time. So I went over to the school, and they immediately took me to Mr. Booker, who he didn't know what was going on. And then he thought about an incident that happened at lunchtime and said that we had a student that was taken to juvenile. And so I was like, well, no one called me, no one told me about an incident, and no one
Wow.
definitely informed me about my son going to juvenile. So he contacted the SRO, and and another administrator, and they informed me that my son had been taken to juvenile
Wow.
after lunch, which was around 11:15, and school was let out at 2:15. The bus doesn't let off until 3, and up until that point, I still had not heard from anyone. So I left there. I went to juvenile. Upon driving to juvenile, I was contacted by the SRO, and he kind of told me what happened or whatever. And so once I got to juvenile, that's kind of when they gave me the charges, and he had the exact same charges as Tari Sledge.
Can you list some of those charges?
There was disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, and assault. He had three other charges. I can't remember right off the top of my head what they were, but I remember he had the exact same charges
A
as
sixth
Tari's.
grader.
So
Mm.
I found out that at lunchtime, he and some other students were playing football. You know how you used to make the little triangle
Right.
football. So they were playing football, and the principal, who was Miss Rice at the time, she didn't know any of the students' names. So when the bell rang, all of the students left and dispersed. So Miss Rice was following my son, and when he got in front of Officer Moore, my understanding was Miss Rice screamed out to Officer Moore, "Stop that kid!" And he immediately jerked my son up by the shirt and like spit him around to stop him. And so my first question to Miss Rice was, if you didn't know his name, why did you call on a police officer? Because when you call on a police officer, that means that there's trouble,
They broken the law
they're
or
broken the law
something.
or something else. Like, why didn't you call on a student, or why didn't you just follow him? Not saying that my son was wrong, but you know how kids are.
Yes.
But to automatically result to asking an officer to stop him, that
Right.
means that there is crime or danger in my
Yes.
mind. And so from that point of him grabbing my son and jerking him up, they cleared the hallway, and from my understanding, the officer slammed my son into the wall.
Oh,
Mean
wow.
off of his feet, like had the top of his shirt and the bottom of his leg, slammed him against the wall. He hit the bleacher. I mean, it was a bench. He hit the bench. He hit the floor, and they immediately cleared the hall of the other students. I asked several times to see the video. They did not allow me to see the video. I asked, how was he resisting arrest when he was not under arrest? And my question for my son specifically is, was this officer aware of my son's IEP? Was he aware of the restrictions, the guidelines, some of the things that he faced? Because in my son's IEP, it says that he has PTSD from stemming from some issues when he was younger and I was sick that he had to face calling 911. So he suffered from those kind of things. So with the officer uh coming at him the way he came at him, my son felt attacked, because how do you go from a situation in the cafeteria with a principal to immediately being, what I feel like, assaulted, because he should not have put his hands on him
Right.
by a officer. And within the guidelines of my son's IEP, it states that he does not like being touched. He does not like people being in his personal space. He won't get in your personal space, and he does not like for you to be in his personal
Right.
space. So the officer at that point went
Was in his
above and beyond that. And so my son's response was, my understanding was, he like jerked away from him and was like, "What are you doing?" And so it kind of escalated from there. And 4 or 5 hours later, my sixth grader is in juvenile for all of
wow.
these charges.
And which brings us to this point. What are the policies and procedures of the SRO officers who are at these schools? My understanding, we're going to get a better understanding, because I hope very soon we'll be able to have our new sheriff, Austin Garrett, on WPTP to talk about the SRO duties. I'm not saying that the SROs are not needed, but I am saying that there needs to be some training and some understanding on both the sheriff's side and the parent side up front. Like there needs to be a guidebook or a book given to each parent about what role the SROs have at these schools and what they can and cannot do. And I think, like in your case, your child, I would have back in the day. We sent the kids to the principal's office.
Well, as a former teacher, there is a chain of command.
Yes,
And the chain of command is, first of all, you write that student up.
yes,
And I think the process now is there's a system in Sassy where you go in and you fill out the referral. That's the first chain of command. The second chain of command is you can always buzz the office from your classroom to ask for administrator to come down. Or nowadays you have walkies. You can ask for administrator to come down. But there's a chain of command. You have assistant principal, you have principal. In most buildings, you have a behavior specialist, and you also have an ISS teacher. So there is a chain of command of people who can come to help you. And then those leaders decide based on why that SRO was hired for their school if they are needed within the situation. But in looking at the video, the first issue
so you
was
eventually did get to see the video with your son.
yes.
Okay,
No,
all right.
I did not get to see the video.
Okay. So when you're
with
speaking
my
of
son.
video,
I'm
which
speaking of
video?
I'm speaking of the video with the recent video with Taurus
With East
Sledge.
Ridge.
Yes, the video. One of the first issues within the video was that the administrator did not have time to come and observe the situation to see what the next steps were going to be. The issue was the SRO and the administrator came at the same time, and the SRO immediately just stepped in and took over.
Right. And we have some footages and some pictures because we went through the video step by step, frame by frame. And in one of the pictures, the SRO officer has his hands around the student's neck.
Mhm.
And that to me, the choke position was very disturbing. And in one picture, he actually grabbed the young man's dreads and drug him out the bleachers, which is very disturbing.
But this is the thing. Think about this from the perspective of a parent. If I go over to the school because they're having an issue with my son, if I go over to the school and manhandle my son that
Mhm.
way or in any type of way put my hands on him, DCS is going to immediately be called. My son and my other kids are going to be removed from me, and I am going to be placed in jail for assault. So if I cannot go over to the school to discipline my child in such a manner, why is it okay for this police officer to do the same thing? Because I don't recall in the video him stating you are under arrest. You can't resist arrest until you are under arrest.
Absolutely.
And so I saw several things that the officer did to the kid that were premeditated. Like he did those things before he actually told him that he was under arrest.
Right. And this video went viral. It went viral. I'm talking about nationwide. We know that CNN has the footage. We know that Roland Martin has the footage. Several civil rights organizations have this video. And the thing about it that really disturbs me is that here we are in 2022, supposedly a more advanced society where people of all diverse backgrounds are supposed to be working together uniformly, and where we have communication skills that go beyond what we used to have. We have social media, we have virtual meetings, we have all kinds of ways of communicating with one another. Yet, we are still dealing with issues, in particular with African American children, that's prehistoric. I call it prehistoric because I have seen, and I'm going to just tell it, this is WPTP, I own this station. You know, I have seen situations where white kids have been more unruly than this young man. I understand he didn't want to dress out. I don't know the particulars. I talked to his father and his stepmother, and so there was a point where he wanted to participate. I think they were doing some type of
There was a
kickball game.
So my understanding is that this wasn't, and I could be wrong, this wasn't Tark's Taurus's PE class. He was actually put in this class because what happens is if a teacher is out and there's not a sub, kids are dispersed to other teachers.
Right.
So it was my understanding that this was not his class. He was just actually placed with the class that went to PE. When they were playing an organized activity, he stated that he did not feel good. So after you play organized activity in PE, you get free time. So during the free time, he went on the court to shoot basketball, and the coach was like, "Oh, so now you feel better," which I felt like that's where it started with he and the coach, because that situation could have been handled differently, because in every situation with a kid, it's not to mock them or taunt them, it's to de-escalate the situation. He should have simply asked the student to sit down, and when he didn't sit down,
Call the
he should have
principal.
called the principal. First of all, giving him an F, called the principal and let the principal come and let the parents deal with
And
it.
then call the parents.
Yes.
That's the order.
Yes, that's the order in
So
which it should have happened.
it went from zero being nothing to 100.
It was a power move because
Mhm.
to me, the PE teacher immediately went on a power move. And if this generation, they give you back exactly what you give them. We can debate all day what's right and what's wrong, but this generation of kids, they give you what you give them. They don't care what you know until they know that you care. And if they don't know that you care, they feel like if you respect them, then they shouldn't have to respect you. We can argue about it all day. Is it
It
right?
is
Is
what
it
it
wrong?
is.
It is what it is. So the PE teacher did not de-escalate the situation, which is what we are taught to do as teachers.
We've got a live radio station program going on right now. And if you're out there listening to our show, we want you to call in. And our number here at the radio station is 423-713-7614. And while you all are getting tuned up and geared up to call in, I want to make an announcement that the parents have assembled and organized a meeting on this Monday at the Kingdom Center from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. to discuss how are we going to deal with Hamilton County school system, the SRO, and our students being abused, being attacked, or whatever you may call it in your mind. What are we going to do about it? There will not be any administrations from the school system allowed. This is strictly for the parents and those who are concerned in this community about the safety of our children. That's going to be Monday at the Kingdom Center, located on MLK Boulevard next to Olivet Baptist Church. And we have got to have your input. People are concerned. This thing went viral, so we know that you all know about it. This program will be posted over and over and boosted. We are on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, but we want you all to know that WPTP 100.1 FM radio is bringing it to you. And we've got a parent whose child had experienced the same thing when he was in the 6th grade and arrested and charges. Where do they do that at? In the 6th grade, you have a child with an IEP that's not only just arrested, but I would say police brutality. When you look at what the child had to go through and the reason why they denied you from seeing the video, because it had to be a problematic video.
Yes. So Hamilton County School did not allow me to see the video, and I never saw a body cam video. And as far as the process of what happened to my son in court, I never went before the judge. I had a court-appointed attorney. He told me that they wanted to give him 6 months probation for all of his charges, and I explained to him that I didn't understand, and he told me that it was the best, thing for us to do is to accept the 6 month probation. And he was like, if your son doesn't get in trouble, you don't have anything to worry about, because after the 6 months, it would be expunged. I was like, but I'm concerned about the charges, period, because he did not resist arrest. Like I said, we were never able to go before the judge. There was never a situation where you think you go to court and the officers there, your attorney get to ask the officer question, and the officer's attorney get to ask, my child questions. None of that never happened. We never once went before the
So
judge.
your rights were violated. So what I'm concerned about, even though records are expunged, they're still part of your history.
Yes.
So that means that if he goes for a major governmental job that requires high security and they go back, they're going to not only look at his records, but they're going to talk to your neighbors. They're going to talk to his teachers.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to talk to anyone that he's had contact with to see if there's any issues that they may have that may breach security or confidentiality of this country. So I understand why you, as a parent, did not want any charges on your son, even if they were going to expunge it, because it does. I don't care what they tell you all. They'll tell you, oh, when you're a child, when you get grown, these charges
Yeah, when
disappear
you turn
because you're a
18.
juvenile when you turn 18. No, it don't. No, it don't. Don't believe that. Okay. They may not be able to use that against you for something, but they can go back and open up your files and look at what you have done as a child. Maybe not even the file on the police, but what
Mm-hmm.
about the neighbors and the teachers that have known history because of their relationship with your child? And those I call them testimonies about your child
Mm-hmm.
is used against them. So you want to clear yourself and your children in particular of anything that you did not do. And I served as the president of the NAACP for 2 terms, and I have not heard of this story. And I know your son's father.
Mm-hmm.
No one ever contacted me personally because you all know I'm a fighter.
Yes.
And if something happens, I'm out there in front of the TV.
Well, there was a internal affairs report filed with Hamilton County Sheriff's Office. I filed a complaint with Hamilton County Department of Education, and my emails just went ignored. And I have all of the documentation because I have learned that sometimes we need to stop talking and we need to start writing, because when
Mhm.
you have stuff in writing, people hear you.
Right.
So I have all of my emails. I have never been able to get a copy of the police report. And on Thursday, I put in another incident. When you go online and fill out to get a copy of the incident report, I was contacted on Friday and said that we do have record of the incident. However, the person that we need to talk to in order to release record of this incident that happened over 5 years ago, they are not in, and we will not be able to release it to you then. I have tried several times within the 5 years to get a copy of the police report because I never knew what the police report said. And following my son's 6 months of probation, I went to expunge his record, and they told me that I had to wait another 12 months before I could expunge his record, which no one was able to explain to me
Oh,
why.
wow.
So it turned out not to be 6 months of probation. It turned out to be 18 months of probation that I had to wait, because still within that year, had he got in trouble,
Wow.
it still would have caused him to receive some type of consequences based on those charges, in which I still had questions about.
Come on, y'all. I need to hear from y'all out there in Chattanooga. I need to know what are your thoughts. I need you all to call in to 423-713-7614. I know you all are watching us on our Facebook page. Some of you all are probably making comments on our Facebook page, which is WPTP 100.1 FM radio. This is being recorded, so we will have this on for people to view. But I am totally disturbed about the whole incident with your son because there's so many other families going through the same thing. And I spoke with the young man from East Ridge, his dad
Mhm.
and stepmom. They were not able to come on the radio because, as you all know, once you receive an attorney, it's very important that certain things not be said because it
Mm-hmm.
could hurt your case.
Yes.
So, and I do understand that. We are in prayer with the young man and his parents as they deal with what I would call a nightmare.
I
If
spoke with them as well.
I, 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 I consider this a nightmare because if someone showed me a video of my child, he looked to weigh maybe 110, 15 pounds being handled by a grown man who is obviously 200 to 300 pounds, being manhandled and drugged down some bleachers by his hair and then a chokehold put on. I don't know what I would do. But I just want to say to the parents and to the young man that have experienced this, you have a whole nation of people that are praying with you, that have seen the video, and that it will not go that way without answers to our questions being answered. We have the clergymen, activists in the communities all over this country that have seen this video. And we are equally upset and angry, and we will not stop until something is done about it. Like I said, I am going to invite Sheriff Austin Garrett onto our show. Now, I know it's probably a pending investigation. They don't like to talk about stuff while things are pending. But I am inviting Mr. Garrett, Sheriff Garrett, to come on to the show just to talk about the policies of the SRO and the rules and the restrictions and the order in which an SRO is to get involved with students on the premises of our schools. Because I know, as I've been involved with the Hamilton County Department of Education, even being on some committees with the Hamilton County Department of Education, that there are protocols. And it seemed like I said earlier, it went from 0 to 100 and nothing in between. And what was even more problematic for me was to watch the African American male adult who appeared to be disturbed himself while he watched the SRO handle the son. As he said, don't resist arrest, don't resist arrest. I think he was trying to say, just don't make it worse, son. Just basically just let him do whatever so it won't appear that you're resisting arrest. And the young man was saying, I'm not resisting arrest.
Yes.
I'm not resisting arrest.
In the video with my son, based on what the attorney told me, I said, what was the administrator doing? He said in the video, she was just standing and watching. Because I guess from the perspective of administrator, once a police officer gets involved, it's kind of out of their hands.
Mm-hmm. Right. So my thing is, if I'm an adult and I'm watching a police officer um, use police brutality or excessive force on anybody, and I'm standing there and I'm a part of the video, I'm going to say back off. This is too much excessive force. I may not can get involved, but my voice is going to be on the video saying you're using excessive force on this child because the child was obviously, like I said, a little, 100-something pounds, and they could have just put him in handcuffs if they felt like he was really a threat. But it was obvious that the SRO treated this young child as if he was a grown person, maybe even an adult with some size on him, because he used force that was, in my opinion, this is my opinion now, was excessive for whatever it was that he called himself taking him to juvenile for. It was excessive.
He went to Hamilton County because he was 18 years old.
Okay. So see, this is what we're talking about. What are we going to do about our kids? What are their rights? The parents don't know what their rights are. We want a policy book put together, even if the parents have to get with the sheriff department and put together the policy and the purpose of the SRO, and at what point can they get involved? Who calls the SRO in the first place to have them to deal with a child who basically has not broken the law? And my understanding is the SRO gets involved when there are laws being broken, per se, and to provide safety.
But in any job, in any system, there's a chain of command. And what I saw was that the chain of command was not being followed.
Wow. And that's what we're saying, and that's why the parents have decided they want to meet. They want to discuss what do we do, because it's all about what we're talking about it, but what are we going to do about it? And we're going to do something about it. Monday at 6:30, I will be there because I have two grandchildren. They're just little babies, but they're going to grow up and probably hopefully have some more grandchildren. And we need to get an understanding of just how far the SRO can go and at what point do they even get involved and to what extent can they I call it use force on our children.
But moving forward, I think it's more important than anything for the kids to be trained to know what to do in a situation like this, because this is not the first time and it's not going to be the last time. So, as a student, when faced with a situation like this, what do you do? As an administrator, when faced with a situation like this, what do you do? As a SRO, what should you get involved in and what should you not get involved in? And then from the parent's perspective, if this happens to your child, then what do you do, as what are your steps as a parent to take? Or what should we be teaching our kids at home
Absolutely.
about when you're faced with an SRO? Because I feel like with the situation with Tars, he just responded based on this being a street situation. Because as a kid, you have administrators who would think that you would be faced with a situation like this with the SRO in school, because that's not the role of the SRO.
Yeah, so that's Monday's meeting is going to be something that if you have a child or just you just want to have a basic understanding because you may have grandchildren that you're also concerned about that are in school, you need to be at Kingdom Center on this Monday at 6:30 to 8:30 to talk about what the role of the SROs are, also, how do we teach our children to engage with law enforcement? Because some of this starts at home. You know, we got children that talk back to their parents, and so when they leave the house, they've been given the a power from home to be able to disrespect adults. So, at what point does it become a disrespectful thing with our kids when they're engaged with people of authority, because that is also an issue with our children in this generation,
Yes, it
disrespecting
is.
authority. So sometimes, and this is not to be on one side or the other, but sometimes when we're engaging with law enforcement, they have some rights. If they pull you over and they ask for your driver's license, you better have one. If they ask for your insurance, you better have some insurance. You better be able to produce whatever it is that by law they are required or can ask you to produce. And so the same thing with our children in school. We need to teach our kids to yield to authority. If they're not touching you, if they're not doing anything to disrespect you in the sense of, I call it bullying you, or making fun of you in the classroom in front of your peers, and also have a way out for your kid. If you feel like you're being disrespected and you're not being treated fairly, you need to be able to pick up the phone. And if they can't pick up the phone in the classroom, they need to be able to leave and go to the principal's office and say, I need to call my mom or I need to call my dad. And then they should ask why. And then the child should be able to say why. Because if my child is detained, first thing should have happened is I should have gotten a phone call to let me know that your child is being disciplined and they're being transported to Silverdale. Or in this case, he was 18, so maybe they felt they didn't have to do that. But he is
But he
still
was a student.
he's still a student in the custody of Hamilton County School System.
Well, I was not informed with my son, and he was 6
Right. The first thing should happen is that yes, we got a call that's coming in, a video. Okay, go ahead. We need the video to pull up. Hello. Okay, this is the video of the SRO and the student incitement or incident. And we want to show what happened so you all can, if you haven't seen the video, you'll know what we're talking about. So as you can see, the SRO is pulling the young man by his hair. He's jerking him around. He's already put the chokehold on him. Prior, you could freeze the screens. You could see where the police officer actually put the chokehold on this child. And we have some of those shots as well. And now he's rough handling the child.
Refused
My thing is, if
assistance
he's
from
being
the school's
arrested,
nurse
where are the
and waited
handcuffs
until his
so that he
father
could
arrived.
contain the
Sledge was
child
taken
in
into
such a way that
custody,
he
and the
won't
Hamilton
be
County Sheriff's
as
Office told us
as
they are reviewing
able to
the
be as
incident.
aggressive as he thought he may have been. So that's what handcuffs are for. So this child was basically, and he's not a child because he's 18, but he still is a child. He's a student. Many of us turn 18 before we graduate from high school. And so he's still a child. And so this child was handled, in my opinion, and many of us' opinions all over this country, inappropriately for what they said. Now, there's always two sides.
Yes.
We don't know what led up to the SRO doing what he did, but we feel that it was excessive because he's still a child. He looked like he may weigh 105 or 10
Well,
pounds.
there was an hour-long video showing what led up to it. So
Yes.
it's on YouTube for everybody to go and watch. The body cam footage is available.
So you all can go on YouTube. I hear that Facebook has been taking down some of the footages because it is violent. It is violent. And their thing is to not have violent incidences displayed on Facebook, but it is available on YouTube right now. As long as it's available, you all need to go and look at the YouTube and just, make your own assessment. But we are here today to say that as parents, and then particularly parents of children who are in school that are experiencing these types of incidents, that we are sick and tired of being sick and tired. And Miss Brady still doesn't have her questions answered for her child, who has been involved in another case similar to this, where her rights were being violated as a parent and where her son's rights was being violated as a student. So that is the understanding that we all need to get from this meeting Monday. So I hope there is a documented booklet or pamphlet or something that will show the policies of the SRO, the rights of parents, the rights of students, so that we can have that to look through, because I don't think the school system has any such booklet that helps us to understand what role the SROs have. And if it is, it hasn't been given to parents.
No.
And also, since children are not allowed to have their phones on in the school during school time, what can a child do if they feel that their life is in danger or they're threatened? What can they do to help themselves and to get a hold of their parents, especially when the parent has not been called? I felt like this parent of this child was not, their rights were violated because these parents were never informed until it was too late. They should have been called
the
immediately.
son called his dad, and his dad was actually at the school before he was taken away to be arrested. However, the son called. Not
But
the,
it's
yes.
it's the administration's, it's their job to call the parent, and so yes, whereas we're okay with the fact that the child called his dad to inform him that he was being arrested, where were the administrators that called the SRO to discipline his son? Where and why were his parents not contacted? If the child could contact the daddy, then the administrators should have been able to
But
contact the
they
parent.
had not gained control of the situation yet. So the administrator was still there with the police officer trying to get control of the situation. I mean, it was an hour-long situation.
So this is what we're saying. We're saying that, okay, in this particular situation, it was an hour long. That was enough time to call the parent and say, we've got a situation going on with your child. Can you get here now?
Yes.
Because it may not have escalated had the parent got there on the first 5 minutes of the hour. And most parents, if they get to a school and their child is acting a clown, they can take control of the situation. I've had to go to school one time with my daughter when she was in kindergarten, and I haven't had any more problem with her. She's 30 years old now. Most of us know how to handle our kids. especially when we get an embarrassing phone call
Yes.
about them acting up and clowning. So this situation did not have to go to this extent.
It
The
did not.
situation with your son did not have to escalate to that
It could
extent.
have been avoided.
And we want justice. That's what we want. We want justice for our kids. We want a better understanding of the rules and regulations that center around the SROs. We know that there are good reasons for SROs to be in the school system because we have people that come into the school that are not in school, that terrorize students who are in school. So they should be there to protect the students who are there. But as it relates to students who are in school, legally in school, there is a chain of command and there's an order. It shouldn't go from 0 to 100. And the administration should also have a protocol. I know they have a protocol where they should be able to reach out to a parent when the kids are acting up and they feel that it's getting out of control and they can't control the situation. So kudos to all of you parents who are out there being advocates for not only your kids and grandkids, but other children. I'd like to thank Miss Brady for coming on the show, for talking about her incident, because I know it's a very private, intimate incident with you and your son, for sharing what happened with your son, so that other parents can hear what you went through. And perhaps on Monday, we can form a parents concern group that deals with situations in school, that we will have an organization that parents can lean on and depend upon to handle these situations, and get a lawyer involved too. So it always boils down to legal issues at the end of the day. You know, when people rights are violated, and that includes the students. Students have rights too. They have rights. And so we want to thank you all for tuning in today to what's happening in your neck of the woods. We will be back every Saturday from 1 to 2 o'clock. And we want to thank you for supporting WPTP 100.1 FM. It is the only Black owned and operated nonprofit radio station. Anything that you give to Autumn Park Development Corporation, which we are under the umbrella of our nonprofit parent company, is 100% tax deductible. And your contributions that you give and that you have given have kept us on. And if you like our shows, you like what we're doing, then continue. And we have a website that you can go on and donate directly. If our marketing director will put that up on the screen to support us, to help our programs that help you, that keep you informed with what's going on. We want to thank again the Hamilton County Commissioners for voting unanimously to award Alton Park Development Corporation $450,000 for restoration of one of the most historical school buildings in this county. That's the Pineywood Elementary School, that was built in 1963 at the height of the civil rights movement for Black children only. We want to thank them. And I want to say, I'm glad to report that we no longer are hot in this building, because they had chillers back in 63 and they no longer work. So we have new heating and air, a new heating and air system. I want to thank Mr. Chris Tate from his company for coming out, making sure that all of our rooms are cooling. They have a little bit more to go, but they have done a phenomenal job. And I want to thank him personally for coming out, putting a bid on that job and getting it done. We have our roofers coming out starting next week or the week after to all the little bitty leaks and drainage pipes above the ceiling tile that have leakage issues. We're going to deal with that, so that we not only have a cool and a warm building now, but we also have one that's safe from the elements outside. You'll see a lot of things going on. We have a thrift store that is very thrifty. Mama Lou's thrift store is open on the weekend. You all feel free to come in and shop, and you will get a deal. We not only have clothing and shoes and things of that nature, we have toys, we have furniture. beds, mattresses, all the kind of things that you need. And yes, our mattresses have been donated, but they have not been used. We have to make sure that we follow, the healthy guidelines from COVID and the government, so that we don't repurpose mattresses. They have to be new. So if you're donating a bed and a mattress, the mattress must be unused and still wrapped. And so we are very happy and excited about that. We have so many fundraisers going on. We're going to have a big reunion. If you've ever been to Pineywood Elementary School as a student, or you've been a parent of a student, or you've been a teacher here or an administrator here at Pineywood Elementary School, then yes, we're going to have a big reunion. It is a fundraiser to help with the renovation, completion of our renovation projects here, and the things that we do in the community to serve the community, like the WPTP radio. We're keeping you informed with what's happening in the city of Chattanooga as it relates to us. People of all diverse backgrounds, but in particular African Americans and minorities, all the opportunities that are available for minorities in this community. That's what we do. So this radio station is a very powerful radio station. We reach out across not only this city, but this state, this country, and yes, outside of this country, across the world through our YouTube, our um, our Facebook page, and our Instagram page. Thanks to our team of engineers who are very, very experienced with doing that and bringing you on. If you can be in Africa, and we can bring you on and talk to you and interview you through our, I call it live streaming capabilities that we have here. So we are very technologically savvy and update. And thanks to Michael Slyman, who is our main chief director of marketing, for making that happen through his skills. We thank him for bringing those skills that he had for Disney for almost a decade as their director dealing with their marketing onto WPTP Radio. We just have a host of people here that are doing wonderful things for this community, and I want to thank them. We want to thank Gil Weidman for his dedication to Alton Park Development Corporation over the years, for being here, making sure that our building is kept and maintained and safe. We want to thank all of our board members for making those crucial decisions, even when we didn't have any money. And we still don't have any money. The money that we have is dedicated and have to be applied because it's government money. It has to be applied and used in the way that is intended and supposed to be used. So yes, we do have options and proposals that we're requesting for people to do various things in this community. And we have equal opportunity, of course, for those to bid. We still have things that we have to get done. If you want to volunteer, we still have things that you can volunteer to do, mentorship programs, just a host of things. We have a huge 8 acre land that's a part of this 48,000 square foot building with a playground, thanks to Blue Cross and Blue Shield and Kaboom for that $200,000 donation for that equipment. We thank Blue Cross and Blue Shield for sending 500 volunteers to help put the playground up in one day. We thank all of the contractors, whether you cut a piece of wood or whether you pour concrete, whatever you did to make that playground the way that it is today. We want to thank all of you for participating and giving your time so that the kids out here in Alton Park will have a safe place that they can come and play, and a nice place where they can come and play. I want to thank Two Chicks in a House, our organization, a wonderful company that keeps our grass cut and maintained. I thank her for all the things that she's doing with that, and all the things that she's also in the future going to be doing through AMVET. We want to thank the Veterans Association for being a part of making sure that other things that we need here at this historical building is being done. And yes, this building belongs to you, the community. And we want everybody to feel the ownership of it. So, whatever skills you have, whatever you want to come and contribute, please feel free to be a part of one of the most wonderful nonprofit organizations. And by the way, the only African American community development corporation left in Hamilton County. There have been many to come and many have gone, but we are still here fighting for our communities and doing the things that we have to do to make your life better here in Chattanooga and Hamilton County. And again, thank you for all that have contributed through our website. You can go to apdc98.org and contribute. You can click on the icon and click on what you want to contribute to. You can also go to WPTP1001fm.com and listen to our shows. And also go to YouTube. We have a library. Every show that we have, we keep those shows in our library. So if you missed it today, you can go back and look at some of the videos in the past. We are powerful and we are strong because of you. And I want to thank you. And until next week, make sure tomorrow is Sunday, and you all know where I'm going. Make sure that you are in somebody's church, praising the Lord and giving thanks for what He has done for you. And if you can't go to church, we have virtual now. Thanks to COVID, everybody can, with a flick of their phone or on their computer, they can be in church from their bed. So make sure that you're listening to the word of the Lord wherever and however you have to. And you are always invited to Greater Emmanuel Apostolic Church, where our minister, our pastor, Pastor Warfield Jr. is our pastor, our senior pastor, and is located at 400 Tunnel Boulevard. And we have a Sunday school that starts at 9 o'clock, and then our church services start at 10:30. You're welcome to just drop by. And I know that Olivet Baptist Church, Bishop Kevin Adam is going to have a phenomenal program and list of people coming from all around the country next week. Marvin Saps is one of the ones, TD Jakes. All of these folks are going to be at Olivet next week. You all don't want to miss it. So I want to invite you all on behalf of his church and on behalf of Bishop Kevin Adams to come out and enjoy the programs that he has put together for our community. And as always, we wish you love, peace, and happiness. Until next week at 1 o'clock, same time, same place. I'll see you then.